The hilarious part about this whole situation, the cult of current Christianity, the cult of selfishness, the cult of white supremacy that's been masquerading as like Christianity, and how the cult of empire, narcissism, self-gratification, like masquerading as some version of Christianity. The gag of it all is that they don't mind watching others suffer for Christ, to suffering in general. And it's just as long as they're not doing it. Like yesterday, that video that I made, I said that God that y'all have created, that narcissistic tease, who, I'll add the word today, tease. Yesterday I used the word torturer, that narcissistic torturer that y'all know and love, because y'all have created this in your mind. Okay, because that's what happens when people who are humans, humans only perceive a certain amount of data, dimensions. Okay, and so when you have a God that, by their own admission, exists outside of perception, to the extent that it's not manifesting in a way like humans, in the way we contact each other. We move our lips, we talk, we whatever. And because it does not do that, that God and that religion creates a void within each person. You don't have a God-shaped hole in you. It's this weird, it's right out of the imperialist colonization, the capitalist framework, to where they create a problem, they come in to solve it. It's like this morning I learned that Trump may be taking back the tariffs that were put on just yesterday. Today's the 5th. But I will be brief. They are okay with suffering just as long as someone else is suffering, because for them, they get to, I can't say it's a sin of omission, but it is, they are in connection with and privity with suffering. It's just not something that they're having to experience. Maybe I need some coffee this morning to get that thought out. But it's the look of suffering. You get to put on the title of Christian. I think that's a bit clearer. You get to claim to be in connection and community with Christ and God and your fellow Christians, and you are very much so, by virtue of this, you're very much so able to put on the garbs of holiness, the choir robes and the deacon robes and all. I don't know if you've seen that kind of thing. And you look a certain way, which puts people under the impression that you are something that you are not. There are so many Christians right now, and I've realized it over time, that they are sitting in the eternal torture, both in life and will be in death, in their eternal separation from what they are considering God, because the separation is coming. I mean, they can't even... They fight wokeness, alertness, being aware of socially the oppression of others. They fight that because that requires suffering. Someone has to actually care, and to care is too much. So we then begin to demonize what people are asking of the Christian, which is to be awake and aware, and they call it woke, and the sin of empathy, and all of that evil, all of that just mental gymnastics that they do in order to avoid having to suffer with other people. But only in the sense that they like to watch that kink being inflicted on others. And then they justify, because that's what the colonizer, the imperialist, the king, the abuser does. They use your connection to something that you consider eternal, beyond and above yourself, to force you to adopt their views. Like, she said slavery was mercy. They say that the horrible way in which they allege that Christ died was mercy. And I say that, and I say with my whole chest, that a God who had to engage in human sacrifice in order to fix problems that it caused, like, that God should just be y'all's dirty little secret. You should keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself, because at the very root, it's why I keep trying to tell people, at the very root of Christianity is a ticking time bomb. And I've been saying this, preaching this for years. It's a ticking time bomb that will fail each person. Because when you have a belief system created by men that fails so absolutely, that is such clay that it can be molded and manipulated to fit anybody's will, and you are a God who willingly, purposefully avails yourself of that kind of a process for creating your belief system, you are a very weak God. You can't manifest yourself in any way in which to create any acolytes, adherents, and Christians who then become living epistles in the earth. Okay, because this God that they've ginned up over time in the void, that is their imagination. That, because I said it before and I'll say it again, Christians have been working the clay of their imaginations for so long that mess has been canonized. And it's been believed for so long that you can't even question it. You can't dispute whether or not Christ lived or died. We don't have any firsthand accounts. Even the stuff we believe about David, that's too long of a video. But the stuff that we believe about that person in large part is what was sculpted and implemented, and understanding about David, King David, over time, is something that human beings create. It's like Donald Trump. I kid you not, in several hundred years, Donald Trump will be seen as this good person who didn't destroy America, but made America what it is today. The same way that they look at George Washington, that same trash. That dude was a rapist, a serial enslaver and unaliver of people, and they worship that person as a founding member of our country, in lieu of taking that person as the trash individual that they were and understanding what they were and being different. See, that is a whole other video. But that's the problem, and that's part of the core malfunction that's going on in Christianity, and that's going on in the American context, because the way you get the America that we're seeing right now is that it's and I try to tell people to remember, you are on a plantation in which they are using psychological warfare in order to create human beings that are controllable, but who believe they're free. Because of course you can leave the plantation, you come back to the plantation, but you got to be paying them taxes while you're working. You can be working for the rest of your life in a foreign country. You're still paying taxes to the United States until you give up your citizenship. Oh, and you got to pay the fee when you do. You are on a plantation. I have to say this to everyone. You are on a plantation in which you have been taught to not see it for what it is, because the way plantations work, they didn't have large fences up. They were born and bred to think a certain way in order for that plantation to experience the least amount of revolt, and pushback and problems and concerns, so that the slaves were obedient. But God, I'm yapping today.